So reminder in 5 minutes time, expecting USCB consumer confidence. New York Post says Trump and the cabinet to discuss economy and foreign policy updates.
Good morning, good morning. Little divergence, but not really. Looks like we're just waiting for Russell to come down to like 910, 905, and then ES will get the pop. NQ leading here to the upside while we wait for Russell to find its pullback. ES again just bouncing off our 30-second opening range, trying to bid at these highs. NQ very solid hold of our 30-second opening range. Pushing and retesting our high right now at 980 off of our bounce. Let's see if we get more or if that's all we get. I think there's potentially one more leg down on RTY, with us just needing to reject our ETH high here and then head for VWAP first, while ES then bids as we retest, this area here. But we'll see. That'd be my guess.
Brent crude futures extend gains, prices up by $4 a barrel as the US military strikes on Iran add to peace deal uncertainty.
Good hold so far at our ETH high. Let's see if ES can get this hold. I need to show interest over 740. Still seeing a bit of sell side pressure on Russell. I think that last leg down is still pretty likely into our 30-second opening range, but they're trying. Again, NQ leading to upside. Good hold on NQ, good bid.
1 minute remaining. 93 spot 1, 93 spot 1 higher than forecast, and 92.
Watching our retest of our 980 here on NQ as we come back into POC of our previous candle, as well as POC on PVZ. Right, watching for a very clear bid here as we push into this.
The Nasdaq 100 index extends gain to 1.5%. So here from the report, Conference Board says consumer average and median 12-month inflation expectations tick downward but continue to be elevated. The percentage of consumers saying interest rate over the next 12 months will be higher on net rose to nearly 5%.
Good bid so far. Good hold. RTY doesn't need the pullback, it looks like. Pushing into our PVZ value high. Watching to see what we do now that ES has filled the gap.
Going to TASS, Russia and Kazakhstan to discuss boosting oil transit.
Into our 980. Watching that with 540 on ES. Good bid off of 540 on ES and 980 on NQ so far. Russell new high. Got to get over 30K on NQ. ES testing highs now.
According to Iran State TV, Iran's top negotiator Ghalibaf returned to Iran after consultations with Qatari officials in Doha.
Yeah, now you just try to hold. Nothing's invalidated. They're trying to bid above that 30K, right? Push up to like 50 to 60. Just gotta watch to see what we do. ES and NQ both held our pivots, attempting to push. We had 2 entries, right? We had 1 entry on the look back above our 30-second opening range on ES once we trapped this liquidity, right, down here. You've got the bid then stepping up on the recovery of our 30-second opening range. So we have trap liquidity below. The bid steps above our previous seller and then pushes. And then we see our 540 going supportive, and that gives you your new high. So that's your ES play, is just playing around your 30-second opening range and then the recovery. And then for NQ, just start 30-second opening range bounce. Gave you your first entry for your push, and then you had your secondary here for 20 points into your 30K, and now we're just watching to see if we can get something, some continuation here with RTY leading up, or if we're going to need to do a bit of a pullback first, right, across the board. Maybe do a little liquidity grab and then go. Unsure. See what we do. good push off of our PVZ high at 30K, pushing up into our next target here on NQ. Taking off 1 here on NQ from our 80. Holding POC to value, previous candle so far. We have liquidity on ES up at 54. Just watching our retest here on RTY and our halfway back in PVZ, value high at 920. No change. Again, NQ and ES both holding POC to value of previous candle, but definitely someone taking in size up here on ES specifically at 50s to 46s. Just watching to see if we continue to, or if, you know, this is it. We've taken off 2/3 of our size. Just holding a runner. Dude, my alarms keep going off and I have no alarms on. What is this?
According to Iran International, spokesperson for the Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied reports about offer of billions of dollars to Tehran to finalize a peace agreement with the United States. Russell pushing into our halfway back and PVZ value high. Again, we'd love to see it bounce here. And we'd love to see NQ push into this 50 to 60 for next target. Just trend up ever since we got our 30-second opening range holds, just like we were talking about. Good stuff. I have one left. At 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index forecast 0, prior -2 spot free.
Just move your stops up, let this thing go. See if we can find a bid here at 48 to 46 on ES for one last leg up into 54 to 56 at least. R2 NQ trying to take out highs from this last move. Just waiting for Russell to find a low and then we get it. Let's watch our value here. This little edge that we push back into. Let's see if we can find a bid as we rotate back into this node. We would want to see this like flip resistance if we were going to go down. Until then, right? We'll just watch to see if this gets defended.
So a reminder in 5 minutes time, expecting the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index forecast 0 prior minus 2.3.
Good bid. Good hold off of our previous high in PT at our 49.50. Alright, let's see if we can get this to continue. I don't really have a target here in NQ, I'm not gonna lie. But we're just in straight trend, so nothing to really talk about other than just playing off of our ESP PTs that we've got above, you know. Just watch for Russell to come down into view up. The divergence is a little crazy. But NQ's just pushing. If ES can sustain here while RTY pushes down into view up, that'll cause our next leg. If NQ starts to lose some of this momentum and RTY is already pushing down, right, that's when we have to start worrying. But let's see what RTY does here as we push into this. We'll look for a strong reflexive bounce here. So we push down. Hopefully get a decent bid across the board off of that. Watch for like a dip into 55.60 area on NQ as Russell pushes down into this, I think. And we'll see. It's just wrong trend right now. Tech's running, but just keep an eye on this. So we push down into these lows.
One minute remaining.
Yes, coming down into POC of previous candle. 40 seconds, 2015s. Let's watch to see if we find some liquidity here in NQ.
Ten seconds.
Here's your bid from our 50 to 60. 30 points.
Still waiting on the data.
Take off your first risk into our most recent high. It's going to get a little volatile into the open this new 15. Do we have data coming out? We'd ideally like to see them hold this higher low from that bounce that we saw into our 50 to 60. And then be able to take out highs as data comes out. That would be the ideal continuation setup.
0.4, 0.4, higher than the forecast of 0. Your first risk, if you're playing off of this 50 to 60, should just be into 75 to 84. And then if we pop that, then we make new highs and just go for continuation. RTY getting our bounce and our view up. ES holding our edge, no problem. NQ, again, bidding off of where we thought our 10-point range that we gave for the bounce. Just testing highs again. Someone taking in size up here, but nothing crazy yet. According to the Wall Street Journal, the US Navy restarts guiding ships through the Strait of Hormuz. So a bit further more info from the Wall Street Journal. The US Navy has restarted assisting vessel crossings through the Strait of Hormuz, according to US military officials. The officials told the Wall Street Journal that a Greek supertanker laden with 2 million barrels of crude was guided by the US Navy as it crossed the waterway off the Omani coast. The ship was stuck in the Middle East Gulf since early March and is now heading to India to deliver its cargo.
I just am in runners now from 50 to 60. I've fully exited my position from our 30-second opening range and then our bid at our higher low from 980. I am now just playing off of our 50 to 60. I've taken off 2 from our 50 to 60, and I've taken off 1 into 75 and 1 into 84. I have 2 runners left at 62 average. Everything is playing to a T. There's now been 4 entries given on NQ with minimal drawdown and continuation, exactly what we've talked about. ES as well. I think 3 entries now with Russell bottoming. Again, in 2 runners here from our 50 to 60, taking off 1 more here. Trade is now completely free. And we'll push up into our target 130, 160 ADR. This is ES target here into our 54 to 56. This is target 1 on ES following our pathing. If we can flip our 54 to 56, then we'll head up to 165 on ES. Sorry, 565, not 165. Good job. Yeah, it was an obvious pullback. Now let's see if we can flip this 20 for the continuation, push up to like 26, 27. minute 50 until new 15s. Just an LVN that we can fill here on NQ as we push back down into 080 while we wait for Russell to hold this high. Makes sense. Supply here on ES into our 54 to 56. This is our first target. And we're just watching to see what we do here on NQ while Russell settles above. If we can bid here into our new 15s with ES being able to find our bid here and then flipping, should be able to retest highs. I'm just really watching to see, like, does NQ need to come back down into this and then go, or can we just sustain this? Unsure. But we're building out this node.
Qualcomm strikes AI chip deal with TikTok owner ByteDance.
Just watching as we bid into that. New 15s, opening at POC of previous candle, supportive. Let's see if we can continue to bid here. Again, we've got to get through this supply from 54 to 56. Really important if we want to get that next leg up for another 10 points. Until then, right, we're just going to be eating into this. I have a small position on an ES.
So Qualcomm shares gain on AI chip deal with TikTok owner.
I've taken off 8 contracts. I'm trading MES, so I had a total of 12. I have a PT at 56, and then I have a PT at 65 for my final contracts. I have a entry at 48s with a stop at 43s on my final contracts on ES. Just playing off of our pivot here. Nothing crazy, but just wanted to have some skin in the game as well, based off of what I was talking about. They're trying to absorb here into this 54 to 56. A lot of buy-in, not a lot of movement, right? Just watching this NQ pullback for our understanding of where we're headed. This 080 is looking pretty realistic just to fill this LVN. So now we have two pretty distinct and clear distributions that we can play around into these highs while we wait to see if Russell is going to be able to hold our pivot on retest. But we have this upper range and lower range, and we've now filled the LVN in between, right? So we have a very clear upper distribution that we have to push back into, and then we have a very clear lower distribution that we're pushing into right now, right? So let's see if we can get back over 100s, or if that's going to be where our offer sits now that we've found our bid here at our edge. If this holds, right, then that's that. These guys are then offsides above. If we can bid and hold this, then we'll just be watching to see if we'll rotate back through, or if this is going to be able to get back in and then go for the continuation up. But we have to watch now with those guys identified. We really want to see this Russell hold happen. You can see daily POC is trying to shift here at our 080 into this node. RTY holding where it needs so far. ESPOC also trying to shift here on the daily at our 50s.
So furthermore, ByteDance is set to procure millions of Qualcomm chips known as application-specific integrated circuits.
$80 bounce continuing to hold, pushing into our 100 offer. Need to flip back over this 100, 120 for any more upside, or again, that's where sell side will sit into our upper distribution here. RTY holding our range so far. Just going to be playing around this daily POC, trying to shift up here would be my assumption, and then we'll figure out which way we go based off of which way we flip on retoast. But bid is still maintaining at our 080, which is good. Watching our oscillation through this node after that failure, once we identified that upper player at 100, we're just watching to see how we build here at our 60 to 80. RTY still holding our right needs, but everything else is pulling back. We watch our edge as we push into 80 for one more leg down into 40 to 60 for our bid to try to be there. That's where I'd expect buy side to be if it was going to be anywhere, just into these lows. Look to see if we can take out these wick lows, find liquidity, and then continue on our way after this pause. Nothing crazy. No large shift as of yet. Just trap liquidity into our highs and now a punishment and a rotation back down to our previous buyers. After this, then we just reevaluate. Again, we're just shifting daily POC here, right? So it's just a rotation around this upper structure on both ES and on NQ. This is your ES 15-minute VWAP reversion and our pushback down into our liquidity here at our 43 to 46. Remember, our daily POC is attempting to shift at this 080 here. You're just in a small auction between 080, 090, right? That's where your sell side sits, following our pathing, and we're pushing down into this 40 to 60 liquidity on NQ. So this should be your first risk off. If you're playing this little micro range while we wait for a directional decision to be made. If 40 to 60 goes offer, then we'll look for the POC shift, right? Where we'll head back down to that POC from before. if 40 to 60 continues to stay bid, and we can then push over 80 to 90, and then we can then look for continuation up, just following our overall trend on the day. But we shall see. Again, this should be your first risk off if you're playing through our pathing as we push down into these lows, and we watch to see if 40 to 60 can hold this bounce. I mean, we can find liquidity here. If not, right, this 80 to 90 will continue to hold, and then we'll rotate down to our POC shift.
The US will sell $85 billion in 4-week bills on May 28th to settle on June 2nd.
What's up, Ram? This is our push into our 40s now. You have now done the full move down with our POC shifting into our lows. We watch to see, again, if this is going to do a more dramatic change or if we can hold. This is your full sell side pathing, though, based off of our move. And now we watch to see what we do. If we can hold this edge, we should just head down to, like I said, the POC migration, which would be right down here from our migration here. Pushing down into target now. Good reversion trade from our POC migration. Just risk off as we push down into this. This is target 30K to 980. Beautiful shift off of our failure at our to establish back above that distribution, right? And then rotation below our POC shift and our 40 to 60 then flipping as resistance where our buyer was before, and then rotating back down to our previous buyer here into our 980 to 30K. Make sense? All right, we established that this guy was offsides. We established that this is where that buyer was last.
U.S. official to Jerusalem Post says U.S. forces are not currently escorting commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. So again, seeing here U.S. official to the Jerusalem Post saying U.S. forces are not currently escorting commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's compared to the Wall Street Journal report earlier saying that the U.S. Navy was restarting guiding ships through the Strait of Hormuz.
So are you guys able to visualize that shift? Like, it's pretty important to being able to be like, oh, yep, there's a shift. What are some early signs that we can see of being like, oh, okay, like we might see a pullback? What can we have? What did we see into those highs? What are some of the things that we talked about? There's a lot of buying, right, but not a lot of movement at our highs. We got to our targets at that 54 to 56 on ES, right? We started to see RTY starting to diverge and pull down, right? These are all signs. We started to see on the 15-minute time frame a POC shift, right? Where instead of just holding POCs as supportive and then bouncing, we started to see a shift where we were closing below our highs, right? We had a clear double distribution with that upper range that we identified and our lower range. And then we saw the daily POC shift, right? So then we saw lots of liquidity starting to step in here. So we then had a larger supportive pivot to let us know which way we were going to go, right? So we identified multiple distributions to where we were going to trade around them. We identified an LVN that we knew that we were going to fill, which then gave us a directional bias after that fill occurred to let us know if we were then going to be able to step back up or if that fill was going to hold, and then we were going to hold that lower node as resistance on the flip below, right? These are all things that we identified to let us know what we were going to then play around. And then we then use the daily POC shift as our target of where we're headed, right? Just back down to this liquidity. Is the overall trend on the day still there? Yeah, for sure, right? So we'll pull back to where buyers were before, and then we will build out this structure. We're back to our 30-second opening range on ES. We're back to our POC shift here, and RTY is back to our VWAP, right? So this is now our target, and now we just watch to see how we build out here. But we identified this participant, we identified that lower high, we identified the flip, right? All of those things were identified in real time. Is there a clear pivot that you can see that I'm playing around on in Q, like I was talking about? If you look at my transactions here. It's the 40 to 60, right? We played it to the upside, and we flipped when we stopped out there, and then we played it to the downside, right? 40 to 60.
Fed bids for 6-month bills total $3 billion, and the Fed bids for 3-month bills total $3.4 billion.
New 15s, POC opening, sorry, new candle opening below POC of previous candle, watching that as an offer point. ES pushing down into our main bid here. Need to see a very clear shift below this 33, 36 area, where this is where the bid will be found. So this is target here again, NQ into our 980 to 30K. This should be again your first target, and then secondaries can be into 940. We're watching to see how the bid reacts here as we push into this. Target 2 is here. Watching for reactions. This is primary. If we flip, then we'll be watching as we push into that. This is ES also into our 30-second opening range low. $30-point bid so far off of our 30K. No breaking downtrend yet. It would need to flip 80-90 for me to feel comfortable really in anything other than just a range trade. Downtrend still intact. ES held our 30-second opening range high, rotating back down into our low. RTY holding VWAP as resistance on at least first test. Testing back into our 30K now on NQ.
11:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the US 6-month bill auction. Prior high yield, free spot 6.15%. Prior bid to cover, free spot 0.7. We also have the US 3-month bill auction. Prior high yield, free spot 6%. Prior bid to cover, free spot 1.7.
I am personally flat and waiting to see what we do now that we've hit target. I might miss out on one more leg, but I think that that'll be another opportunity. We just know that this is where the bid is resting, right? At this 30K to 980, so no reason to overcommit now that we're back to our bid. I just want to see how this oscillation completes. We've taken in a decent amount of size here into these lows at our NQ pivot. Again, there's not really a ton of upside potential until we get back into that upper auction at that 60 to 90, but this does feel like a pretty solid local low for right now, at least. If we flip this, then I'll play it down to like 920, 940 after we see no desire at 980. But until then, this just feels like a rotation. Maybe we get something new into the new 15-minute candle that I'll play around. But so far, this just looks like a bid at 30K to 980, just for rotations back up following our pathing. Your first risk off, if you are playing long, would just be into POC of previous candle at 040. So we push into that.
Surely expecting the 6-month and 3-month bull auctions.
New 15's opening here soon. 30 seconds, really 20 seconds. Just a little volatility as we push down into our 30K to 980. ES leading down with Russell weakness. No breaking down trends. NQ just establishing here. POC from our daily shifting back down to this low. New 15's opening now. Watch our reoffer on ES, POC above.
Six-month high yield, 3.65%, 3.65%, bid to cover, 2.77, 2.77, with the US selling 77 billion. Awarding 37.55% of bids at high. 3-month high yield, 3.595%, 3.595%, bid to cover, 3.08, 3.08, with the US selling 89 billion. And the US awarding 25.6% of bids at high.
Bounce star 980 pushing into POC to value of our previous candle here on NQ as well as ES. Watching to see if sell side is going to be able to maintain a lower high or if we were able to do something new, right, and break our downtrend and reverse this trend that we're building on the 15-minute time frame, right? Watching this area on NQ as we push into our previous 15-minute value as well as ES, our previous 15-minute value. Do we continue to build below or can we shift above? That's where we watch for our sell side pressure to be. You can see that is also our POC shift on the daily as well on ES, right? What do we want to see in a reversal? We'd want to see someone trapped, right? Do we have anyone that's technically trapped yet? Do we see absorption into our previous 15? What are we seeing so far? What actually is the catalyst for a trade? We have pivots, right? How do we want to be interacting around these pivots to determine an actual directional trade? Are we seeing anything that is telling us that sellers aren't still just where we talked about? No, right? We're just absorbing into our previous 15-minute value, right? And rejecting. We need to see someone trapped at our lows, right? Sell side failing to shift below this 980 pivot, ES failing to shift below this 530, right? Or we're just continuing our trend down on that 15-minute time frame. If there's no shift in our trend, right? If there's no shift in where our buyers and sellers are located, if we don't have a catalyst for the right side of V trade for that reversal, then it's going to be very hard for you to get a solid trade, right? Other than just continuation. And you can see that now. We get the reoffer on ES and on NQ, and we push into next target, right? Right off of our reoffers. Because there was no actual ability to push and shift. And so we push down again, you know? Yeah. And we are testing into our ETH low now. It's nothing crazy. It's just always remembering, like, has anything changed, right? What's the overall trend? Are we still holding POC of previous candle as resistance? Okay, then why am I looking for a shift, right? Why am I looking for a knife catch? Has there been any sign that this knife catch actually has any validity to it, right? Do we have a trap trader at our lows? Do we have a higher low to play off of? Do we have a flip of that POC to value? Because if we don't, why are we taking this trade? Other than we just think that it's going to potentially bounce, but we don't have any evidence of it, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. It's just like, go through your checklist. Yeah, I mean, that is the key. I mean, what else? I mean, I don't understand how anyone is trading if you don't have a catalyst. You don't move the market. So why wouldn't that be the first question you ask? Always remember, you're the one lot warrior, right? We have to wait for other participants to move the market, and so we need them to show. Because if not, then we're just trading with ego, right? MOB. You forget that the United States just isn't a bunch of dollar stores and Waffle Houses, and that they're actually pretty places. Yeah. We'll figure it out soon. Good absorption into 32, 34 on ES. Minute until new 15s. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see like a dip into 920 here off of this failure at 30K to 020, but might be a bit volatile into the open. I'm not sure, because we're just like reverting back down to our VWAP here. So it's hard. But I would like to see this at least push down into our final target off of our failure. New 15's opening below POC previous candle on both ES and NQ. Remember, 940 is our opening range edge on our 30-second, as well as our value low currently on the daily. Our POC shift here was at this 980. So we've got a lot of potential bid down here into this like 940, 980 area. Just have to watch to see how buyers continue to react down here. It's very hard to continue to want to take shorts as we push into our value low. We really want to flip our value low for continuation, and be looking to close some of our shorts, right, and then move our average down once we actually confirm outside of value. We've done the full value rotation, right? So now it's just a matter of how do we interact now that we're back down to our value lows. Do we find a bid as we push outside of value, or can we flip and hold it, right? What's up, Kiz? How you doing, man? This is pushing down into target now, boys. Let's see how we interact. Just a continuation down. POC holding as resistance, pushing down into our 940, 920 now. Secondary targets. Just trend down after a strong trend up, right? Nothing crazy.
Iran president says he spoke with Emir of Qatar on the phone.
Again, this is your next for scuff. And then just chill with a runner. Not much to talk about here.
Iran's president says Tehran seeks dignified framework to end the war. So again, this is Iran's president publishing a Telegram post on the Qatar call.
What was the move up? Who knows, man? Who knows? But we held our 30-second opening range. That's why I bid. It's just like a really solid retest on NQ that just rotated up. Now we're just right back there. Now we've reverted to our 30-second opening range, as well as our 15-minute VWAP, as well as our PVZ value low and daily value low on both NQ and ES. Watch to see what happens. Remember, downtrend is still intact. We've just reverted back to where we found our initial bid on the day that gave us our upside move. So it makes for a good risk off, but again, nothing has invalidated the downside move that we are currently playing, right? So you can take profits or you can just move your stop down. It's up to you. But again, nothing is invalidated. We're just back to our reversion target, and we expect the bid to be here, but we don't know how strong it's going to be. Until we can flip and hold below our 30-second opening range as well as our value low on the day, it's very hard for me to look for more. So personally, I just watch to see what we do here, and then we'll play either, you know, the very clear flip and hold below, or a clear participant who gets trapped, and then we rotate off of that. But I won't interact as we're trading inside this. Just watch to see how we hold here. Does it reject and then continue down? Can we hold, trap, and then get back in? That'll be our next leg. Again, the downtrend's still intact, still holding our 30-second opening range as resistance. Very clear downside continuation. New 15s opening in 6 minutes. Quick candle down. And there's your target. Yes, and NQ. Again, let's see if we flip or if nothing changes. No clue. Just very clear trend down, holding our 15 minutes, no invalidations. Just rotating. Good bid so far into our target, and watch to see if this will flip following our pathing, or if we rotate back up, trapping liquidity down here again, just like we did on our initial bid on the day. That's good, man. I'm glad you watched it. You just gotta really remind yourself the why we're trading and why we're looking for what we're looking for are so important. Just to like constantly remind yourself of like, okay, yep, is someone off? What are we looking for? What's the rotation that's occurring? What's the auction that we're currently in? Is there desire to trade this auction? Or are we pushing through it? If there's no desire, where did we trade last? Right? Where were buyers from last? It's just like we just to constantly be asking yourself those questions because that determines our action. And if you can't answer those questions, right, like there's no reason to be taking a trade until you can. The more of those questions we can answer, right, the better our execution is going to be, and the more willing we are going to be to exit a losing position because we built out the narrative, right? And so if the narrative doesn't play out, we know that we were wrong, and then we can exit because we don't, it's no longer following the reason why we were putting risk on. One minute till new 15s, bouncing our pivot so far, no change. We would need to see like a pretty clear bid back over 940 for me to care about this on NQ, just like what we have pathed. Yes, also bouncing our pivot from our 15 to 19, just pushing back into our ETH low and our value edge. We'll just watch that as our pivot and see how we react as we push into that. Is that going to offer here as we push in and then rotate down? Or can we flip in, hold, and then rotate back up? Again, new 15s opening very shortly. 5 seconds into our offer now. Everything is bounced where we thought it would. Now it's just a matter of, do we do something new? Holding POC so far, previous candle pushing up into our value high edge here on ES into our previous 15. RTY bidding off of our 30-second opening range, finding secondary buyers, watching to see if we can push over this 40 on NQ for that rotation back up following pathing. ES as well, just into our edge here, watching our offer as we push into this 27 to 30 area. If we can flip this and find bids, then we have a potential for right side of V, at least short term. Watch as we push into Russell VWAP for a potential loss Momo to give us that secondary bid on a little bit of a pullback on our retest of our flip of our pivots. Good bid, good push. I've taken off 1 on NQ, watching to see how we interact as we push back down into like 50 to 60 with any sort of Russell pullback that we get, right? Allowing for something like this. Again, this is just ES into the top of our value edge here from our previous candle after holding POC on open, right? So you're playing between these two areas, very tight range, but it gives you for, you know, a pretty decent trade. And we're just watching to see if we can flip back in for this next rotation up. Same thing on NQ, but NQ is a bit of an easier visualization in my opinion, because it's just us recovering this value area and now trying to find a bid here at this 50 to 60 for rotations up. Right, we're just trying to hold these buyers again, and then we're watching to see what happens as we rotate up into these highs. With Russell also getting that little pullback for the bid. So this is where you'd expect sell side to be sitting short term, just into the top edge here. And then above this 80, you'd just be looking for 30K again. Later, man. Oh, nice. I'm actually doing a pretty quick session today as well. I have a appointment I did a bunch of like lab work, so I have to go to the doctor. So when Mario gets on, I'm actually getting off. Quick Monday. So you're not going to miss much. Well, you know what I mean. Usually my first day of the week, I stay for the full session. You get me. But I am busy this afternoon. I'm treating it like a Monday. I even went like live public on YouTube, which I usually don't, but it's a quick week, so just play it like normal. There's not a lot to talk about here. It's just back to our 940, 920, where our buyer was last, while Russell tries to hold our higher lows above our 30-second opening range, right? And ES is just pulling back after failing to get above our pivot. So we'll just watch to see if our bid can hold here, like we were looking for originally. All we did was come back to our previous seller from our last candle, right? Sold into it, now back to our buyer here. Same thing as ES, but a little bit of a bigger range on NQ while we trade between these two participants, right? This guy here and this guy here. Yeah, peace, man. It is now 12 lunch, so slowdown is to be expected. We're just watching to see if we can hold higher lows or if we trap liquidity. Think about it like this, right? Like this is the easiest way in these areas to not get too caught up. I'm just going to delete some of this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. What did we do on the last test here? Right, we just traded to our POC shift, our original POC shift, and just rejected it, right? So all we're doing right now is building out, oops. We've got our pivot here from PVZ value 1 that we're holding as resistance, and we bounced our PVZ low of that same area, right? Do you see what I'm highlighting or no? Let me turn off drawings. Do you see how this is just period 1 that we're transitioning through? This was our POC to value high of period 1 of PVZ, and this was our value low. So all we're doing right now is just transitioning between our value high and our value low of our first period of the day off of our indicator, right? So that's where we bounced. It's just this rotation here between where our daily POC is now resting at this 9080 to 3K, 30K, right? And our lows here into our 30-second opening range and our value low on the day. So we're just transitioning between this area. So until we flip outside of it, it's just a range rotation with a downtrend above, right? So we need to basically just watch our main pivot to see if we're going to be able to hold a higher low, right? To show that we have interest at a higher point, right? Buyers showing interest, bidding where our offers were previously. right? Can we bid higher points, or is this going to fail, right? And then rotate back down, doing the full range trade and another full oscillation here, instead of being able to hold the higher low and then show interest outside of this value. So we're watching that right now at our 30-second opening range high, where we found our last initiative buyer, right, on this rotation up that allowed for this same rotation to occur that we're looking for now. Can buyers sustain here and rotate us up and then hold this just like on the last attempt, right? Or does this fail, right? And are we now back in this range? And with that failure, does that then result in a flip below and then a hold down, right? That's basically what we're watching for, is like, how are we interacting here now that we are holding between our value low and our POC, right? Instead of POC to value high, showing interest in the upper distribution, right? The upper area of our distribution, we're now showing interest in the lower. And are there buyers still present down here that are going to be able to continue us in the direction that we want on the higher time frame? Or are we going to fail, right? So like, can we hold this higher low here, just like we did here, right, on this last rotation up, to get us back outside for this, then to rotate this upper section? Or is this now going to be our main pivot on the day, this 30K to 980, which was our target for our shorts? And are we now going to rotate down below our secondary targets here at our 920 and then start to rotate below for continuation down? Until this shifts below, it's very hard for me to be more bearish on the day, just because we've got to take out these lows and show this shift below our value. Until then, I'm just kind of like watching our POC on the daily, which again is this 980 to 30,000, and then our value low on the day, which is here at this 880, 900. I'll just rotate
Interfax saying that Russia is considering limiting diesel exports, but there's no decision yet.
Right, so nothing crazy, but just a very clear rotational trade, same as before, where we took our original long on the day. We'll watch to see if it does it again, if these buyers can reestablish themselves above, or again, if this holds, and then we'll just rotate down, flipping this pivot. Have we seen anything new on ES? No, it's an inside candle, right? It's very mixed. Flat POCs on the 15-minute, still holding our overall downtrend on the day, but we did eat up this liquidity here and find that buyer in our low, right? So that's why I want to be playing around the very clear pivot that we've created on ES with this higher low, right? With this POC to value here that we're trading in. Russell trading into our VWAP. What happens if we lose momentum here? Well, then we could do the full rotation down again, right? If we don't have the momentum on Russell, we're very dependent on NQ and tech, right, to bid and push us out. So these are all just like really important concepts that I'm trying to show you guys. It's like, it's the same thing again. It's like, are these buyers going to initiate again where they were last and rotate us up? Or are we going to transition again just through this range? Has anything shifted that we want to see, right? Who are we playing with? What are the participants? Yeah, we are also holding the gap, right? But this is why it's like, until we flip below this, it's going to be very hard for me to want to take shorts, because we've seen such initiative bids. So I either want to be looking for shorts in our top edge here, right, where our offer has been on this retest, or I want to be looking for some sort of shift of value, because we know that we've found this buyer here on our footprint. What we want to know is this going to be able to rotate us up, right, and then bid, or is this going to fail and offer and then rotate us down in that continuation below our value structure? Hopefully that's clear. If there are any questions, just let me know. But just back into our first balance of the day. That's the most important concept to grasp. Or just back down to this. And ES is very clear as well, where it's like, once we get back into our previous day value, right, we're back into our Friday auction, then we can trade through it. But until then, it's going to be very reactive, right? So we can use that as our pivot as we push down into that previous day value here, right? Can we get back into this, into our last week's auction, or does that kind of remain? That's how I'd be watching it, at least into the afternoon. But whenever we see these like flat POCs, right, it's like, okay, we're building out a distribution here, a node, and then whichever way we break from this, that'll be the real trade. Until then, it's going to be choppy garbage until we decide. But again, like we know the overall direction, right? All we're looking for is someone to be trapped outside of this, right, this distribution that we're creating, right? Remember, like, not moves, trend doesn't go down directly. It's not a straight line down. It's not a straight line up. We have bases that are created, then we have drops, and just like we have rallies, then we have bases that are created. We have like periods of rest between our periods of movement. And as long as we remember that, right, and then we treat these areas as range trades, and then we look for that breach, right, that offside liquidity outside of these, we're going to be in a much better position than trying to just, you know, short, or long. When we know when the market's at rest, right, we just wait for it to breach outside of this period of rest, right? We will be able to draw a very clear fixed range on this eventually, right? And then we'll be able to see where that offside liquidity is above and below, and if we can maintain outside of that value, right? As right now, we're just trading within it, which is what makes sense. Right, we have these guys who are outside. We have the bid now trying at this value low. We need a very clear shift above and then bid for continuation up, or we're just going to trap outside and then continue to rotate as we build out this area and wait for a decision to be made. And again, like a really easy way, if you have a hard time being like, are we in balance or not, right? Just like look at our candle structure on the 15 or the 30, right? Is it an inside candle or not, right? Like, where's our POCs? Do we have a directional bias with POCs, or is it very mixed? Because if it is, then that's probably an area where you don't want to be trading, right? When we don't have a clear directional pivot, because it's going to make your job or make your life a bit harder unless you're willing to trade it as a balanced rotation or hold, right, with a full pullback back into your, you know, your break even. If you're looking for expansion in balance, it's going to be very hard. What's up, Sarah? Yeah, just a short stream today. Making it up for yesterday. Later, Ty. Have a good lunch. It's crazy that BBL is no longer Be Back Later because of the Kendrick and Drake beef. It'll forever just be the other BBL whenever I see it. Unlucky. Again, just back into our highs where we risked off on the last attempt. It's just a rotation between our value low and value high until proven otherwise. Again, you need to show interest over this pivot for more. We are currently rotating between this low and this high. If we can flip from these lows and show that that buyer is willing to now try above.
So Japan are
this
poised to start the Mercosur trade deal, seeking oil and more car parts, according to the Nikkei.
So just keep an eye on this. We're rotating between, again, our value in this balance, right? Value to value. We're looking to see if we can shift above, get back above this daily POC, and show this as a supportive offer, supportive bid. Yeah, nothing crazy, nothing new. Just back to our 30-second opening range and an immediate bid like we were talking about, right? Nothing crazy. Watching to see if we can flip this as well here on Russell above our value to ETH high, same as before on the last attempt on the upside. And then we'll watch to see how we interact into this 22 to 20, 25, right? If we can flip that, then we go up. If not, that'll be the top of our rotations. Does that make sense, right? Everything that we talked about? Can we get through this or no? That's the question. I've taken off one here into 980. We'll watch to see if we can flip back over 30K, or if this 980 to 30,000 continues to maintain. Does it make sense like we talked about with the higher low here? With this liquidity off sides and then finding that bid here and looking for that rotation up? Do you guys see that now visually? Can we now bid here is the question, right? At our value high edge. Can we find a buyer here at this top edge where we found our seller on the last attempt? If we can, we're in a great position for a potential continuation here. Right, we're just watching to see if this can build out above these previous participants and then rotate us up. If we can build here between this daily POC and our current value high and ETH high, then we are in a great position. If we fail here, what does that mean? Well, we'll have trapped liquidity into our offer once again, and then we'll look for this rotation back through the range because nothing has changed, right? This is why we take off one here, and then we watch to see if that active bid can step up above for this continuation, or if this will trap, and then we'll rotate back through.
So US Central Command on X is saying that Project Freedom has not been resumed and that the Navy is not escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. So again, confirmation from Central Command now.
Unlucky. Project Freedom is not a go. Yeah. into our daily POC here at 30K. We got our bounce at our value edge. Now looking to see if we can build above following our pathing, or if this is it. This is ES pushing into our big pivot of our 30-second opening range where we absorbed on the last attempt, right? This is where we saw a decent amount of buy-side absorption, where sellers took in size here at this 32 to 34. We're watching to see if we can flip or if this is going to hold. Reminder that this is also our daily POC here and our highs where we absorbed for this rotation down. So we need to flip back above this if we want more. And this is RTY directly into our pivot off of the hold of our VWAP and ETH high, right? So we have now done the full rotations back up to our primary sellers across the market. And if we can flip these pivots, then we have more upside, right? We'll do the rotation back up to our upper distribution. But if this fails, then there's been no major change, right? We're still in a downtrend. This is just a reflexive bounce based off of our open on the day where we bounced last, right?
Hello, everybody.
Yo. How you doing?
Is it 1,000 degrees in Ohio?
I have no clue. I haven't left my house yet today. Let me look.
Is that disgusting here?
It's 72 and cloudy, so it's not bad.
Gonna put the window ACs in yesterday and we didn't. Just like didn't sleep at all last night. Just in pools of sweat.
No, I'm lucky. I
Yep.
slept with like 3 blankets on, my AC at
Oh
33
my
degrees.
god. This guy.
Yeah. Unlucky. Yeah, it's hard though when you have the window ACs because every other day it's
Yeah.
like, are we gonna snow again?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
We usually hold off till like I don't know, like end of July sometimes, but this year is just nope. It's gonna be like 90 tomorrow, I think.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough. No, 90 is too much. That's when like my entire wardrobe doesn't have a chance. Like I just don't know what to do.
Right?
I don't know. I own like 19 sweaters and 16 coats and like 7 pairs of pants and 0 shorts other than like gym shorts. It's like, all right. I'm built for fall and winter. That's it. Huge trade XY. Yeah, we'll see what we do now that we've hit our pivot. This is the same area, but for NQ for me. Actually, I think it's pretty important for me to show the trade before that as well, so that you can see that I didn't wait until, like, I'm literally just playing around. This is a pivot, but I took profit into 940, right, from our short, and then I waited for us to figure out what the hell we were doing, and then once we actually flipped back in, right, then we played it, following our idea that we were going to be rotating this, right? So we bought as soon as we got back in here on this side for the higher low on the recovery of this is our distribution for our value area. And then we played up to this high.
And so we're just seeing on X here, it was a post from Al Arabia. They're saying here that Iran wants the release of half of its frozen funds with its announcement of the MOU. Again, this doesn't actually seem to be anything new. We had Tasnim News reporting this late last night.
Right, and this was our pathing that we have. Right, it's just a hold the recovery of that value and then looking for that rotation back up. And then when we hold our lows, right, I add to that position, and then we go for the continuation play for the secondary move up. That's all I was trying to show. It's just the recovery. But I wanted you to see that I took profit into our 30-second opening range at that 940 on the short side. Because why wouldn't you? Right, I don't know if we're going to go lower or not. I have no clue. I'm expecting a rotation, right? So, but we don't look for the long until we see that higher low and then that bid, and then we play it as a range trade until we flip. And again, if we can get above this as our pivot, sick. If not, it is what it is, right? Can we flip our daily POC here and then rotate up? Just like how we played our POC migration at the highs, right? What are we looking at now? Well, POC is migrating down, right? To this 30K. So where would we head if we can start to hold this as supportive? Well, back up to where we shifted at this 80, right? So that's why it's our main pivot and our big look here. Because if we can flip this, then we'll trade back up into this upper distribution. If it fails, right, then we're going to trap here. And then we're going to rotate back down through this as a range trade again, with this liquidity then being trapped here. Does that make sense? If you look at it like that.
Everyone got confused when you started with a solid narrative and actual plan, you know?
Yep. It is what it is. Another way to look at it is we recovered the PVZ value low, right, of this current period, and we are pushing up, and our target is our PVZ value high into this 80, which is right here, right? So this would be the rotation of this zone to zone, right, off of the recovery. This is just another way to look at it. So if I turn off all drawings and we just look at our indicator, right, we traded between our value high and low of period 1, right? That's where we found our bid. We have now recovered our pivot of our value high of period 1, and we have this as our target, which is our value, our POC to value high of period 2, which is where we're currently trading within, right? Our indicators give us all our targets that we need. And what do we have for our 15-minute chart? What are we starting to see? What's a shift that's happening? What can we establish? What are we starting to establish? Just like on the way down, what are we now trying to establish on the way back up? Anything? Do we see anything new? What's happening? What did we do on the way down? Well, we held POC as resistance on the way down, right? Very clearly holding these lows. And then we established a new base, right, into this liquidity down here. And now what are we trying to do? We're trying to build above POCs again, right? So we'll watch this to see if it holds. And if it does, that's a really good sign of a potential start of a right side of V if we can do this. You feel me? Just like we had the downside move like this. Now we have a break outside of this distribution, and we'll be watching to see how we interact here as we push into value of our previous candle to see if we establish anything new. Just to give you like an idea of like when to start looking for these interactions, right? And if we can hold here into this POC retest to value, that would be a sick hold for buyers to show interest outside of that blue box, right? But if they fail, right, then we'll rotate back through that blue box with this guy then being offside above. So it's just a really easy way to be like, oh yeah, let's watch to see how we interact here as we push into this. All right, I actually have a doctor's appointment I have to get ready for because I had those labs done. So I'm going to go to the doctor and see if I'm dying of everything.
Nice. Good luck.
Yeah. So I'm out of here a bit early today. But, yeah. I'll put charts in chat. Good rotations today so far. It's definitely slowed down a little bit as we got into 12, of course, but still not bad. Let's watch this as our pivot here on ES to see if we hold the higher low. Same thing here on Russell. All right. Peace, boys. I will see you tomorrow. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.